Age of Apocalypse is going to be coming out really soon, and I'm pretty hyped for the box. I think overall the box looks really good. I think it looks really fun, especially the villains, right? I always say in general that I want new villains because we have a lot of heroes. I could play these heroes that we currently have forever and be pretty happy with them. But the villains, sometimes we've ended up with some lackluster villains or villains that just didn't click well with me or whatever it may be. So I'm always excited for the new villain release, right? And how they'll be and all that fun stuff. So I thought, because again, Age of Apocalypse has not come out yet as of recording this video, I thought it'd be fun to make a speculation video. And again, this is just speculation and it's just for fun, right? It's just a fun little conversation piece, talking a bit about the villains. And I want to do kind of like a hype rank list for it. This is just my opinion, just what I see, again, from what we've seen released so far. And this is just for fun, right? It's just something to talk about. And this isn't just a one-way conversation. Do me a huge favor, scroll down, hit the like button, hit subscribe. Make sure to do all that stuff first, turn on notifications. But let me know what you're excited for and maybe not excited for, whatever it may be. Now, we're going to go in this list, and I'm going to go from my least excited villain to my most excited villain. I want to specify first that just because someone might be low on the list doesn't mean that I think they're a bad villain. I think just comparatively to the other ones, I'm less excited for that one than the other ones, right? If that makes sense. So even if like the last place one on this list is, 5th place or whatever, it doesn't mean I think it's going to be a bad villain or a bad scenario or anything like that. It's just comparative to the rest of the other, 4 scenarios. I'm not as excited for that one. And we'll talk briefly about it in a little bit. So let's go jump over and check out the cards and check out the list. If you asked me a week ago if the Apocalypse villain from the 3rd stage would be on the bottom of this list, I would go, of course not. I like the whole thing he's got going on, right? I like the 4-stage thing. I think that's a pretty cool and neat idea. I like this idea of traversing the heart of the Empire, the Towering Citadel, to the Tyrant's Throne, to No Longer Worthy. Now, it's got a very Hela feeling to it, and that is one of my concerns with this, is that Hela nowadays feels very formulaic, I guess, where there's a certain procedure to go through to make it as easy as possible. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to be incredibly easy or anything like that, but that's just like the process you would go through. So hopefully this doesn't happen with Apocalypse with that. I like this whole idea. I like all the superpower attachments he has and all this fun stuff. Like I think all of this looks pretty cool and what he's got going on. My big issue is that there's a second Apocalypse. Now, this doesn't mean that I think this one is going to be a bad scenario or anything like that. I just think for me, there's always one scenario I'd rather play more than the other. So for example, we could talk about this with Collector 1 and 2. I have no reason to play Collector 1 like ever again. Now, you could argue it's just a bad scenario in general, and I would agree with that. It's not the best scenario, but Collector 2, rather play that every single time if I want to face the Collector, right? Let's take Green Goblin, for example, with Risky Business and Mutagen Formula. I actually like Risky Business. It's a fun scenario. I think it's fine. But 80% of the time I play Mutagen Formula. It's just what I absolutely play most of the time, because I just think it's a better, more well-done scenario than Risky Business is. And that's, again, not to say that Risky Business is bad. I'm actually one of the weird defenders of Risky Business, but again, it's just comparatively. Then we have in Next Evolution, we have Morlock Siege and On the Run. Now, they're a little bit different in how they work, right? Because the Morlock Siege, you have the whole Marauders like come in one after the other, versus On the Run, you just pick one of them. But it uses the same villain, so it's a very slight comparison. It's kind of a stretch, I would say, to make this comparison. But even with that being said, I'd rather play On the Run than what is it? We just said Morlock Siege. I don't like Morlock Siege. I think it's too basic of a scenario and it's not fun. So I'd rather play On the Run, right? There's a better scenario. That's my big fear with Apocalypse, is that they'll both maybe be good, but if I want to play against Apocalypse, I'm going to pick the better Apocalypse, which I'm guessing is going to be the last one. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's the other way around. And if that's the case, then this Apocalypse would move up the list and the other one would fall down. I just find it hard to believe for myself that I would play 2 different versions of Apocalypse equally, or even close to equally. Again, I'm happy they did this. I'm not upset that they have 2 Apocalypses in there per se, because if he is like the big bad final boss of the trilogy, right, it makes sense for it to happen. It's just, this is more of a me personal thing, right? I get it. There's a lot of people out there that like the idea of 2 different 2 villains that are both Apocalypse. Totally cool. Not judging, not whatever. But just for me, I just know me personally, I'm going to play one over the other when it comes to playing like a villain's name. So that's why he goes down the list, is just because of that. But I still think this will be like a fun scenario. I'm still excited for this scenario. All right, next up we have the 4 Horsemen, which I don't mind this. Again, Rough Rider, shout out D20. DMX. I don't mind this. I like the whole idea of the attachment thing. And, you know, when they attack you, if they have at least 1 hit point, discard a top 10 cards of your deck, or do this or do that, right? Like, this whole idea is pretty cool. After a villain activates, move the active count to the next villain. Like, it's very just like, okay, you know, kind of like the procedure of things, right? I think in general, I'm just kind of done with multi-villains. Like, not done. That's not fair. I feel like they're just there's a process to beat most of them, right? When you look at again, On the Run, we just talked about, or even the Sinister Six one, which I do enjoy Sinister Six a lot, but there is like a process to kind of like go through it pretty easily. It's just I get less excited about multi-villain stages, I guess. I guess they're just not really meant for me. And again, I don't mind it. I don't play them as much as the other ones, is I think what it really comes down to. Again, all the other multi-stage ones, I'm thinking of also the Mansion attack from X-Men. Like, I liked it, right? I liked it. I like the Sinister Six. Like, I like all those. I actually don't mind Wrecking Crew compared to a lot of other people. Tower Defense is kind of give or take. I'm kind of iffy about that one. But generally speaking, right, I like them. I just don't love them as much as regular villains, right? Of just like, you just put out one villain and you go toe-to-toe with that villain. There's something that feels more kind of epic to it, I guess. And that's what I really like about Marvel Champions, is like that epic battle feel. So again, I like the whole system they're doing. I think it's cool. I think it's neat. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be fine. I don't want to do more multi-villain things. I think I'm in a rut right now where I'm not playing those as much. And I'm kind of curious about other people too. Do you tend to pull out single villains more often than the multi ones, or do you like the multi ones more because it adds variety? Because I get that argument too, right? Well, like, when you mix these around, the whole situation is going to be different, so it feels like a new, unique experience each time. And I totally get that argument too. So that's I get it. But yeah, for right now, I think I'm just personally kind of over them right now. I think it'll be a fun scenario. I think it'll be fine. I think I'll enjoy playing it. I'm just not my favorite thing right now. All right, next up we have Dark Beast, and I like this. I like what they got going on, where basically you're kind of time hopping around, right? Dark Beast, Bogus Journey, with the stage, with the main scheme. I think with what they have, we're going Dark Beast cards and the Treachery cards. Like, he's going to activate a lot. He's going to do more. All the mod sets they have going on is going to be interesting, I think. I want to see if these mod sets are like predetermined, like you have to use them, kind of like how Mr. Sinister is, which I like Mr. Sinister a lot, so I wouldn't even be upset with that. But it'll be interesting to see kind of how it works and whatever. But he just seems like a good 4th villain, right? 4th villain, I always consider to be like hard, super hard, but super fair, right? Generally speaking, very generally speaking. And this to me feels like a really good 4th villain. It feels well built out. Kind of well done overall. Again, I like the whole environment thing it's got going on. So again, when Dark Beast attacks you, resolve the special ability of the environment settings. So you have to like pay attention to what environment's in the play and what's going on. It's going to deal damage, and you got to do whatever. And then it reveals a new environment, right? And you know, the whole game kind of changes, and it adds that variety to the game that I think could be a lot of fun. It'll be interesting to see if these are, like I said, forced mod sets, or if there are other mod sets you can mess with that have environments. That would be kind of interesting, right? Because I think Mojo set has some stuff that you could probably mess around with. So that would be interesting. And maybe, you know, it still like forces you to pick these, but we can just as a community do the other ones. Like, I think there's some play in there, which could be really interesting. So, and again, reveal a random set-aside environment and shuffle the rest of the encounter set into the deck. I'm going to assume Dark Beast has one for each stage, so I think that stuff could be pretty cool. So yeah, we'll see how it works, but I like the idea of Dark Beast. I think he looks good, even though this looks like a huge amount, right? 10 threat on the main scheme. We know that there's other ways that, you know, he can maybe scheme a little bit more with Evil Genius and whatever, or like, you know, the Genosha environment where we run the special and you place 1 threat in the main scheme, and if it's on this, so it's every single time he attacks, he's gonna be putting a threat in the main scheme, so he's gonna be doing both things. Like, I think that's cool, and it's not like overwhelming feeling, but it's like that constant, like, okay, it's going up a little bit more, it's going up a little bit more, like we gotta stay on top of these things. So I think this looks pretty cool, and I'm pretty excited for Dark Beast. Next up we have Unis, who is the first villain, right, of the box. And generally speaking, first villains are like, quote unquote, the easiest. I think this whole idea of the gene pool thing is kind of interesting as a side scheme. So it's a permanent setup, force response after an ally is defeated by anything other than consequential damage, place 3 threat here, right? And depending on how much threat is there, changes what Unis does. It changes what the infinite soldiers do. I think this is kind of a cool idea, right? Because it's not just that, okay, you could take the chump block and yeah, it stinks, but you can fix the problem. Right. I think this adds a lot of variety to the issue they've always kind of had, which is the player base obviously wants a chump block like the majority of the time. It just makes the most sense with allies. And they've tried to figure out different ways to kind of get around that, right? Because it's a very powerful way to play allies. You don't take any damage. It's great. Whatever. I think this system of using gene pool is actually really smart and really good, because again, we've had other times where like, okay, if you chump block with an ally with like in the last X-Men box, not Next Evolution but Mutant Genesis, right, where the ally gets captured and too many get captured, you lose and there's no way to free them. This feels like a really fair way of doing it, that like, okay, yes, I can block and it's going to place threat here, and just doing it one time is going to give, you know, Unis not only retaliate, which he already has, but also stalwart, and he's getting pretty close to having a boost icon, right? Or this one gets quick strike and also gains surge. I can fix the gene pool problem, right? I can fix it, but you know, it's that trade-off, right? And I really like this game when it gives you those trade-off options. I think when it gives you those options, it's really cool. It's really cool. So that's what I really love about this situation. I think it's going to be a really fair first villain. I think it'll be a little tougher than most first villains, which is totally cool. But I think this trade-off system is really good, really well done. I'm actually really excited for this. I think this is going to be a pretty fun first scenario. All right, the last one. Apocalypse. Apocalypse was always going to kind of be my number one. I'll be honest. If this wasn't in this game, last place Apocalypse would have been first place. Right? Because I am hyped for this. I think Caleb is going to do a phenomenal job with this. Again, I've said this many times. I have the utmost faith in Caleb Grace's designs. I think he does just an amazing job. And we've been building to this for so long that I think this is going to be phenomenal. And if it's anything like Magneto, it just to be like a little like Magneto. Magneto, I still think is the perfect villain in this game. And I have all the faith in the world that Apocalypse is going to be Magneto, but better. There are faults with Magneto, but I think this will be better. I think this whole flippy card thing, except for the whole dead space up here. Oh my God, it still drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. It drives me nuts. Sorry. But I think the flippy card thing, I hope they don't overuse it with villains, but I like it. It's a cool idea, and this makes the most sense to do it with, right? This will I think will be fun. The whole attachment and what is it? Superpower thing, right? He's got going on. Is that what we're doing? Yeah, superpower cards. I think all that stuff is going to be really, really cool. I think it's going to be a really tough villain, but I do think it'll be fair. And that's all I ask for in this game is I would like tough, but I want fair. And to me, just Apocalypse looks fun. He just looks really fun. He looks what I want from a fifth villain. I don't want to win the majority of the time. I want to win about 20-25% of the time is my goal for the fifth villain in the game. So, you know, I can win, but it's going to be tough. And to me, that's what this looks like. So I am super hyped for this villain. Again, I'm really excited for it. So again, if he was never announced, this Apocalypse would have been up there because I think this Apocalypse does look really fun. But I think, again, if I'm going to be playing Apocalypse, well, I'm going to pick this one. On paper, this one looks better. And that doesn't mean that when they actually come out, it goes, oh no, this one's bonkers weird and broken or whatever. And this one turns out to be the fun one. Maybe that's the case, right? Maybe that's what will end up being, and this will just reverse completely. But I think for me personally, I'll have the tendency to pick one Apocalypse over the other the vast majority of the time. As of right now, I'm going to pick this one. Let me know down below, right? Let me know down below what your thoughts are. And I'm sure people will disagree with my list and say I'm wrong or whatever, and then that's fine. You can put that too. But I'm really curious what other people are like most excited for. Again, I don't think any scenario here looks bad. Like on paper, I don't think any of them look bad. So again, I really want to stress this, that I don't want people to think like, oh, D20 made a tier list and Apocalypse is the worst one, so it's going to be a bad scenario, or he has the 4 Horsemen really low, so he thinks it's going to be bad. I don't think it's going to be bad. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be fine. It's just what I'm excited for, right? It's just personally what I'm excited for. So let me know down below what you're excited for. I'm really interested in reading that stuff. Again, just to have fun. Just to have fun while we wait for Age of Apocalypse to come out any day now. Can't wait. And so anyway, hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I will see you all next time.